Hey, how's it going? I'm Andrew. This is my persuasive speech for our Intro to Public Speaking class with our teacher and our great leader, Blake Sherman. So today's speech is about something that is very far away from us, physically very far away, and for some of us maybe mentally far away. But this issue is very near and dear to my heart. I want to tell you about keeping the earth naturally clean and naturally healthy. And I want to talk to you about breathing fresh air and us being healthy and clean. And so the subject of this speech is the Caribbean lionfish, or the poster child of invasive fish species, and why there should be more international efforts to reduce the lionfish populations in the Caribbean Ocean and other surrounding areas around Central America and the Caribbean. So a little background, some basics on what lionfish are. They're beautiful fish. I mean, they're stunning fish. They've got great color. They've got big spines coming off of them, but they're really just not great. And so some background information, they originate, their normal habitat is the Indo-Pacific region near Thailand, Southeast Asia, and parts of the Red Sea. The story goes that back in 1992, during Hurricane Andrew, off the coast of Florida, the hurricane came through and wiped out this commercial aquarium and sent tons of these invasive lionfish into the Caribbean Ocean. And when these guys get out, they just reproduce, and they reproduce more. According to lionfish.org, a female lionfish can lay around 10 to 30,000 eggs every 4 days, year round. That's a lot of eggs, a lot of reproducing. And the other part of the lionfish is they're poisonous. They have these spines coming off their neck and down their back that can cause great trauma. And the issue with the reproduction is that they have no natural predator. In the Indo-Pacific, near Thailand, they're great. They're beautiful. They fit in with the ecosystem. But here in the Caribbean, they have no predator, nothing to eat them. So all they do is eat everything else and eat everything in sight, and nothing eats them to balance out the systems, the ecosystems. And so their main diet, and the most destructive diet that they eat, is these juvenile fish, like parrotfish and little angelfish. And those help the coral reefs stay healthy and grow, which we'll get into shortly. So let's get into that aspect of it. So why is coral so important? Why are the reefs so important? Even if you've never swam in the ocean, even if you don't eat seafood, even if you have absolutely no interest in oceans, this problem still affects you, because the coral reefs around the world globally, the coral itself produces upwards of 75% of the planet's oxygen, more than all of the rainforests and trees around the globe put together. The coral produces the most oxygen on the planet. And so the process of that is photosynthesis. The coral produces algae on it, and which creates the photosynthesis part. But in order for it to keep going, the parrotfish, the angelfish, the other juvenile fish have to eat the algae and keep the coral clean and keep it balanced. But what happens is the large lionfish come in and they eat the fish, the little juvenile fish. So now there's no juvenile fish to clean the coral, to eat the algae. So what happens is the coral literally suffocates in its own. It suffocates in algae, which causes the coral to die. And now we have a decrease in oxygen production, and which directly affects us in the long run. And so this phenomenon with photosynthesis and with the juvenile fish and with the lionfish greatly affects us and how this issue really needs to be controlled. So the next part is what can we do? You know, even though that we're far away in places like Montana, I'm currently in Utah, we're landlocked. We don't have access to the ocean. We don't get fresh fish in our grocery stores always. But what we can do is we can encourage restaurants to order, to get shipped in fish. Specifically, let's get them to order lionfish. Let's put it on the menus. And we can order merchandise like cookbooks and jewelry from online from local vendors in countries like Belize and other Central American countries to improve the business of getting lionfish, because the whole point is to take them out of the ocean. So we need to do things to get the locals in those areas to want to go into the ocean and take the fish out, because that's the problem. They're in where we don't want them. And then also, if you find yourself with the privilege and of traveling to the Caribbean or Central America to the ocean, go scuba diving. It's an unbelievable experience. I mean, scuba diving is amazing, and what some of these guides can do is show you how to use a spear, a deep sea fishing spear that's on a bungee cord, and it is really invigorating to go lionfish spearing. It's awesome. And we'll go down, I've gone down scuba diving and come up with 50 lionfish in one dive. There's no limit. I mean, the point is to get as many as you possibly can out of the ocean. Like I said, the problem is they're where we don't want them, and the point is to get them out. And so also while you're in these places, you can go to the restaurants and order the lionfish off the menu. And what that does is the restaurants then need more lionfish. They go to their local fishermen and say, hey, I really need you to go down and get 200 more lionfish so that I can have fish on the menu for the next week and a half. And so that's a great form of profit for the local business and fishermen. And then also, you know, even though we're far away, we can read, we can study, we can learn more about the issue. And you can make donations and outreach to local organizations in those areas like Reef CI, which is a Reef Conservation Institute, or Blue Reef Adventures, or NOAA, NOAA. And according to the NOAA website, their main goal is to provide online education, research, monitoring, management, and other mediums of outreach. So, you know, we have all these issues, and you know, we've talked about, you know, what the lionfish is, what the over general issue is, and why we need to fix it. You know, because in the long run, it's about the world being healthy and us being a key proponent in that, and us, you know, originally one could argue that it was humans' fault for putting them in, for having these fish so close. Like, we should have planned for this disaster. It could have been avoidable. That could be an argument. So we need to control this. So we need to give outreach. We need to learn more, and we need to learn more about the fish, and we need to learn new strategies of getting them out of the ocean, because invasive lionfish are outliving, out-eating, out-breeding, and out-competing every other native fish in the Caribbean Sea and Western Atlantic Oceans, and even the Gulf of Mexico. So, and if left unchecked, the lionfish will ultimately cause the destruction of the native fish stocks, the reefs, and the livelihoods of all that depend on them. So while this seems like an issue that would be hard for us to help with and hard for us to have an impact on, being so far away, it's just like any other issue, any other global issue, fitting for right now. The more we learn, the more we educate, the more we tell other people the right things to do, and give outreach and teach other people and pass on the information, the better we can improve the situation in the long run. And so for those reasons and many others, that's why we need to invest more resources, invest meaning money, time, hands, energy. We need to invest all that and other things, resources, to combating the issue of invasive lionfish in the Caribbean Ocean, around Central America, Florida, Cuba, the Gulf of Mexico, all those areas, because before we know it, I mean, these fish are so destructive that coral reefs in those areas are absolutely being diminished, and they're dying, and they look like graveyards of ocean, and it's ridiculous. And we can play our part in fixing this issue. So let's all get out there, let's learn, let's educate, let's teach others, let's pass on the information so that we as humans can do our part in helping and preventing this issue from getting worse. Thank you.